The U is back. They're back. You can't say that they're not back. I mean, they're in the fucking national championship game. Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Best in the Game podcast. I'm your host, Mike Jones. You can find me on all your socials at Jersey_Mike. That's with the Z and 3 I's. You could have been anywhere else in the podcast world, but you're here with me, and I greatly appreciate you for that. Don't forget, be sure to like and subscribe to Best in the Game podcast on YouTube or wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Let's get into these topics. Today is the day I learned that we know absolutely, positively nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing at all. We think we know, but we don't know. And what we don't know, it's okay. It's okay that we don't know. But you want to know who's not okay? You know who's not okay right now? John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is not okay right now. John Harbaugh was fired by the Baltimore Ravens earlier this week after almost all the major sports news outlets, including this one, major news outlet, thought that his job would be safe. He wasn't. He was fired by the Ravens. And though John Harbaugh was fired by the Ravens, John Harbaugh, he almost immediately becomes the top coaching candidate for all these teams, not named the Baltimore Ravens. All the teams that are looking for a coach. So that of those teams, that's also going to include the Miami Dolphins. That's going to include the Miami Dolphins as well. So when the news came out that Harbaugh was being fired by the Ravens, it was reported that, oh, so now there's about 7 teams that are, looking to fill their head coach candidacy. Well, the thing about that was, the Ravens were one of those teams. And it's like, wait a minute. If the Ravens one of those teams now, like, that means that one of these other teams out here that already has a head coach is kind of interested in whether or not John Harbaugh is going to be available to coach their team or not. I think, in my personal opinion, you do the math, you look at the situation, it just simple economics. You got to love it. So Harbaugh gets fired. And then shortly thereafter, the Miami Dolphins, who initially said that Mike McDaniel would be safe, or at least he survived Black Monday at least, they decided to fire Mike McDaniel. So I think we're all pretty smart. We can do the math. We can put it together. We can see that, man, it was the Miami Dolphins that was like, oh, we got a head coach, but John Harbaugh is available. We might want to kick the tires on him, see what's going on, see if he's interested in coming through. So Miami Dolphins also just fired their head coach, Mike McDaniel, who was originally deemed safe after Black Monday had passed. He too will be highly sought after by several teams. Mike McDaniel's very, very genius level offensive mind. Obviously, spent quite a few years down there in Miami. At times had the potential to have a very explosive offense. The only it was just some of the other things that was going on. Some of the other pieces, particularly, we're going to look at Tua. We're going to look at the defense, which, he wasn't particularly in charge of, but I guess he is in charge of it being a head coach. The defense definitely struggled at times due to player injuries and things of that sort. So, but Mike McDaniel will be sought after, probably likely to be compelled to sign as like a offensive coordinator with some of these other teams that have been struggling to get the offensive going. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. That wouldn't surprise me much at all. John Harbaugh, Mike McDaniel, both very affluent, both very cool, very player type coaches. They're going to land on their feet. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Like I said, John Harbaugh, it seems it was reported shortly after he was fired, like his management, his representation was contacted by like 6, 7, probably 8 teams. So I expect both these guys to land on their feet and be very well, and we'll be seeing them on the sideline very soon. Um, Last but not least, also Dallas fired their defensive coordinator, Eberflus, after one season. Eberflus was fired from his head coaching position with the Chicago Bears before joining the Cowboys last season, and he appears to be out of a job again. So that's gotta suck. That's gotta suck. You know, him being there in Chicago, being part of the regime that drafted Caleb Williams, brought him in. Obviously, Caleb Williams, that offense struggled a little bit, so they let Eberflus go. Bears ended up signing Ben Johnson, getting Ben Johnson, also offensive coordinator for Detroit, brought him in as a head coach, and boom, look at that instant turnover. Not just instant turnover going from a losing team to a winning team, but they fucking won the division. They won the division. Big turnover just in 1 year. Um, Eberflus, man, he was playing with a short deck to begin with, though. Obviously, Cowboys were decimated by injury. Cowboys were not only just decimated by injuries, they were still sort of like, moonlighting in a whole pool of that Micah Parsons situation. It's real easy for players to say like, oh man, the next man up, so on and so forth. But when you have a impactful talent like that just kind of walks out of your door or gets traded out of your door, I mean, that's gonna affect the team. That's gonna affect that side of the ball. It's gonna affect the defense. Obviously, it did. Jerry tried to make some moves toward the end of the season. Obviously, pulling Quentin Williams from my Jets, brought him in, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And how do we know it wasn't enough? The Cowboys, they didn't make the playoffs. They were out of it relatively early. They were out of it relatively early, and that deep defense ain't do shit. Defense did nothing except get the defensive coordinator fired. So Eberflus, I don't know if I would expect to see him on a football sideline anytime soon. He might be doing like some commentary or something, maybe CBS or Fubo or one of these other networks want to pick him up and maybe do some sports casting or something like that. Not too sure that this is gonna look really great for him just being fired 2 years in a row, but we'll see. We'll see. Wishing the best for all these guys, all of them super talented, obviously. Uh yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the big story is going to be about John Harbaugh and about where he lands. And I'm very much interested to see how that goes, because wherever John Harbaugh goes, that team is more likely to become at least a playoff team, maybe overnight. I got a couple friends in the group chat right now looking at the Giants to try to pick him up. So G-Man, let's go ahead and do that. Hopefully you'll make the right decision this time and pick up a great head coach, be it that for some reason you can't let go of this fucking GM for whatever reason. So the least you can do is make sure that you bring in a great head coach, effective head coach, somebody that the players will listen to, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But once again, John Harbaugh out in Baltimore, Mike McDaniels out of Miami. Shout outs. Shout out to the Miami Hurricanes, who are heading to the national title game after beating Trinidad Chambliss and the Ole Miss Rebels in the national semifinal Fiesta Bowl. The Hurricanes, they will play the winner of Oregon versus Indiana, who those two teams will be playing each other in the other semifinal game. Carson Beck, Miami QB, who's won 2 national championships already as a backup with the University of Georgia. He now has a chance to win his 3rd as the starter for the Hurricanes. So shout out to Carson Beck, man. Shout out to Carson Beck. It was an amazing game last night. Literally sit on the edge of your seat type of game the entire game. The back and forth was amazing. It was fantastic quarterback play. Back, Shambliss, Lacey running the ball for Ole Miss, Marion catching the ball for the U, the miss kick, the made kick. It was all good. It was all good. Shout out to both programs for a fantastic show last night, and kudos, man. We can give them a round of applause, man. Kudos to the entire Ole Miss team, bro. Kudos to them, man. Everything it is that they've had to deal with and go through over the last few weeks, last few months, even the roster, the staff, the school. It's been a rough few weeks. But for the most part, they was able to block out all that noise. A lot of that shit going on with Lane Kiffin, head coach leaving Ole Miss, went on to LSU. Even through all that, they were still very much in a position to do something very, very special. So shout out to Ole Miss. Can't wait to see what they do next year. From what I understand, Trinidad Shambliss is already signed up to be on the team 2026. So they are going to be a contender. This team has been amazing. Them Powder Blues is kind of sick too. I ain't gonna for. I was feeling the uniform last night. Powder Blues is kind of sick. So shout out to them. Shout out to those guys. And once again, Miami's going on to the national championship game, being led by Carson Beck. Also, shout out to playmaker Michael Irving. Oh my gosh, this guy repping the U in a big way. Michael Irving, always on the sideline, always hyping the team up, spanking the mortar jugs, letting teams know what it is. Oh my gosh. He's freaking hilarious. If you guys haven't been paying attention, Michael Irving has been a special coach, special talent for the U, been on their sidelines, been in their practices. I've seen clips online, social media, YouTube, him just giving guys the game, man. Just giving members of this team the game. And it's been working. It's been working. Mind you, Miami started out the season number one in the country, I believe. Dropped 2 games in the middle of the season. Basically had to scratch, fight, and claw all the way back. Barely got into the playoff. Mind you, that whole bullshit between them and Notre Dame, so on and so forth. They're here. They're proving that, hey, we belong here. Nobody thought that we'd get back here, especially after those 2 losses, and here they are about to play in the national championship. A lot of that. Shout out to obviously, of course, head coach Mr. Cristobal, but shout out to Michael Irving, because that guy, oh my gosh, you could tell them players, they'd run through a wall for that guy, and he would run through a wall for them. But big up to him, bigging up his alma mater. The U is back. They're back. You can't say that they're not back. I mean, they're in a fucking national championship game. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Huge for college football in a huge, big, amazing way. Shout out to those guys. Congratulations. That's going to be our show for today. Thank you for watching this episode of Best in the Game podcast. Remember, if you're not the best, be better tomorrow. Appreciate y'all. For real. It's all love. Be blessed.